All right. Hopefully, everybody here will join back in at some point soon. For whatever reason, we had the line drop, and we're back. So, welcome back into the Voice of College Football and our Saturday night wrap up show with all of you. And please, you can join the show. I will drop the link there in the live chat. And let's see where we are. Third quarter, 9 minutes left in the quarter. USC's up 28-17 on Fresno State. And how many other games do we have going on right now? Utah leads San Diego State 35-0 in the fourth. And those are the last two games of the day. We've got USC Fresno State 28-17. We also have Utah and San Diego State. And of course, Iowa might be back on the field or maybe not, based on our guy Corey's report from Iowa City. So again, I will take some more calls, and I apologize for the issue that we had. The chat. All right, everyone. So glad you could you could make it back. The stream unfortunately dropped, and so again, I have dropped the link in the chat. Please join us. We only have two more college football games that are still being played. USC leads Fresno State 28-17 in the third. And again, we've got Utah with San Diego State on the board with 3 minutes left, 35-7. Gregory, I thought YouTube took you down. Billy Bob, where's the Ohio State fanboy? Well, at this point, with nobody else calling, we could bring it back on here. Troy misses Doc. So just to recap the amazing call we had, and Erica's here. Erica, good to see you. We had Corey on a little bit ago, and it was at a point in which we were hearing that Iowa was ready to resume play at 1 a.m. Eastern time, midnight out there in the Central Time Zone, but apparently they're not playing football because I think that the Thunder and Lightning has come back. But yeah, that was an exhausting phone call that we had earlier because we really couldn't get to a place where it was a logical process of thought. Yes. They resumed for 8 minutes, rather 8 seconds. 8 seconds. So they brought the guys back out onto the field, and I've been through enough weather delays, like most of you have, either as a fan or actually covering sports, that it's not like they just tell the guys, hey, time to run back out onto the field, let's go, and they just run out there and start playing. There's a whole process of warming up and stretching and getting ready and getting the field in shape and all of that. So it's quite the process to resume a game, and then only to get out there for, I don't know if it was 8 minutes or 8 seconds, according to Houston. All right. We do have Ian on the line from beautiful Akron. Ian, how are you?
I'm doing well, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind tonight?
I don't know. Actually, anything that was on my mind was completely destroyed by the last call. I was trying to follow it. Also, what I appreciate about you is that we're always trying to do logic here and not emotions. And apparently what happened was, okay, he said, if Georgia's the number one team, why does it matter? But yet still talked about rankings the whole time, and then tried to explain why Georgia shouldn't have hopped Ohio State. So how do you care about someone hopping someone in the rankings, right? but also saying it doesn't matter if someone's the number one team.
Yes. It
So
was
that
it
is
was it was tough to get a handle on that conversation. I don't have an issue with debating, arguing, discussing whatever topic with anyone as long as I understand what is the point of the conversation.
yes. So I think this brings up another good point. In anything in life, we should not lead with our emotions because it never works. And I've had to learn that in my own life, So
Sure. I think we
and
all learn that. But we're
and
emotional people. We're people,
right,
therefore
we're
we're
human.
emotional, and there's a reason we have emotions, so there's nothing wrong with it, but it should not be guiding our thinking.
Exactly. And that's why this whole discussion, football and us being fans, I think it's bigger than football, and it really teaches us something because we don't need to be, like I said, leading with emotions because you're a fan, but if you want to, you don't like talking to people who, what are the words you like to use? Moron, moronic, and idiotic, and it's like because we want to talk about football, but you can't just lead with your emotions every time because then you're an idiot or you're a moron. But I don't know, Mark. I've got to watch Penn State, Auburn, Ohio State, Toledo, and I was watching USC and Fresno State.
Yep.
And Saturdays are tough for me because my boy is playing. He plays football in fourth grade, and his games start at 10:30. And it's like
Yeah.
sometimes I work a bit on Saturdays, and then all I want to do is watch college football too.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I got our
I've been
alma
there.
mater on. I got our alma mater on today. And
Look at
what's up?
that. Yeah.
Why are Kent State's uniforms so incredibly terrible, Mark?
Well, Ian, I would have to say that you would have to fill me in on what their uniforms look like these
Okay.
days. I don't know that I've seen Kent State on the field since their last bowl game. I guess
Okay.
that would be the last time.
Well, here's the thing. They look like a knockoff, like someone's mom tried to make the San Diego Chargers uniform.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've seen them. Yes.
And the helmet you have it's got the K and is it an eagle? I know it's a golden flash. What kind of bird is it, Mark? Yeah. What bird is that? An eagle?
It's an eagle. It's always struck me as an eagle, yes.
Now that
Golden flash.
helmet isn't great. That is not the greatest decal on a helmet ever, but it's much better than the knockoff Chargers flash if you've seen it lately.
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking. Now that you likened it to the Chargers, I know exactly what you're talking about now.
It's
So,
so bad, and just that helmet's fine. Just put a K on there, like keep it classic or like a classic style. But
well,
anyway,
the whole problem, Ian, is when the school decided to go with a mascot, they were extremely confused.
yeah, you don't call something a golden flash. I don't know. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, they were just utterly confused about. They're called the Golden Flashes, and their mascot's an eagle.
Yeah, why couldn't you just be the Kent Eagles if you want to be? I don't know, but anyway, I just had a quick thought because I was watching USC today, and Tim might like this, and Ohio State people might hate it, but now, okay, Ohio State has had the best wide receiver room in the country. We've been talking about this for a couple of years, right?
Yes.
And I will agree with you, but we did just lose 2 first-round draft picks, and we're still loaded. And I'm not downplaying Ohio State's wide receiver room with this comment. But, okay, first of all, who do you think would have the second?
In the nation?
Yeah, I mean, does Ohio State have the first?
I believe so, but I
Okay,
believe
well,
USC's close,
that's what
and
okay,
yeah,
we're on the same page. So then the next, because just watching them, and they also have a comparable type of quarterback that could be an elite quarterback, right? I think the difference between Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud is maybe CJ Stroud is a little more of a pure passer, and
yes,
maybe he's a better passer. We haven't seen Caleb quite enough because he didn't start a whole season last year, right? So, but I think Caleb is a little more versatile, obviously. Like, he will run the ball when he needs to.
Oh, yeah.
He stands back before the ball is snapped and looks like he's just hanging out. He looks like he's just having a good time in LA. And Snoop Dogg just came through and like gave him a pep talk or something, because he looks very calm. He hasn't played many great teams yet, obviously, but he looks calm and collect. And he knows when to run the ball. He's versatile. Okay, so my point is, if we wanted to compare those two wide receiver rooms, so number one receiver for USC, we got Jordan Anderson. Number one, we have JSN at Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I wanted to try to debate that and argue with that, I would just call that even, because you could argue all day about who's better. But if you base it on objective accomplishments, I think they both had two of the best years receiving last year. So, you know what I mean? Would you agree? Can you call that even?
Well, if there's going to be a tie broken, it would go in Addison's.
With the award?
Well, with the award, I'm not big on awards because people vote on awards, but he scored quite a few more touchdowns last year.
Yeah, he also played for a team with less receivers catching touchdowns. Like,
sure. He was the guy. Yeah.
Right. That's why I'm saying, like, let's even it out. Because, I mean, if he had Garrett Wilson and Olave on his team, maybe he wouldn't have. But
sure. But then
we don't
all
know.
the statistics have to be evaluated the same way.
Right. I guess what I'm saying is, we could go down that road for a long time, but we don't need to. Okay, so who's number two? Marvin Harrison and Brandon Rice?
Or Mario Williams, either way.
Well, I wanted to go Harrison and Rice, because the funny and great part of that is they're both sons of Hall of Fame wide receivers. Like, you got the son of Brandon Rice, Jerry Rice, and you got Marvin Harrison Jr. So it's like, but who's better there? Well, objectively, Brandon Rice has probably proven a little more, even though he played for a terrible team and he has more experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm taking Brandon Rice right now on that. I'm not saying he's better. I think Marvin Harrison has a higher ceiling, right?
Yes.
So, but right now, and then number three, what are we? We would have to go Julian Fleming, Mario Williams. And I'm just going to say right now, Mario Williams is way, like, the way that he moves. Julian Fleming cannot move like Mario Williams. He just can't.
I would go with Egbuka over Fleming.
Okay, that's fair. But on the depth chart is where I was going. Maybe Egbuka is now, but I mean, I guess at the start of the season. And yes, I would agree with you. Egbuka is much more comparable to Mario Williams. I think right now Mario's maybe a little more developed. Maybe, I don't know. Mario just looks like he's very shifty, but I think Egbuka might be more of a solid kind of like kid that's gonna just like an Olave type, where you're like, all right, he's just really dependable. Mario Williams might have some big play making ability, but I was just thought that would be a little fun exercise, because I think they are the two best rooms in the country for wide receivers. And it's like, you could argue it all day, but it's really fun to watch those guys.
Yeah, the only other room I would consider would be Texas at this point. But yeah, I think that those are the two. At this point, I think LSU has a really talented room, but they're not going to put up the kind of numbers that these other guys are.
Yeah, I don't even like USC. I've never liked USC in my life. But being a college football fan, just seeing them where they are, like, over one off season, and I hate even saying it, but just watching them just come out and like for instance, if they had a big game last year, coming out at night in LA like that at the Coliseum, and just being like, just seeing those guys run onto the field, and then just seeing them. I know they're playing Fresno State. It's not like they're playing Oklahoma or something. Just seeing USC be back for the for the whole landscape of college football just feels like, dang, like, you know what I mean? You can transform a team over one off season. I know like Lincoln Riley went there and then just what he did was amazing. I don't necessarily like want to say that I agree with every maybe ethical thing that he did or whatever. We don't got to get into that. But just the just upheaval of all of that, just bringing all those people there, like,
Well, do we know that he did anything unethical?
no, we don't. And that's why we don't got to get into it. I mean, I would say leaving and then bringing a bunch of people from, the team that you were just at is questionable because I don't know if that's it's not necessarily against the rules. You'd have to look at them or saying it's unethical, but you were probably discussing these things before it was public.
As long as he's not initiating contact himself with the athletes.
Right, and there's always the loopholes. I mean, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, Mark, we know that, like, I mean, we can relate it to anything. NIL is now a thing, but NIL has always been a thing before it was called that. I mean, you're from Ohio, we got great high school football. I played high school football. I got great buddies who played for like Massillon, like Washington Massillon, teams like that,
Yep.
who have college athletic facilities. These kids are getting NIL money in high school. They're getting cars bought by boosters. Like I hired a guy the other day and actually like a couple weeks ago became friends with him. And you know what? The things we talk about football all the time and things he tells me just reestablishes that. They're taking them out and buying them whatever they want.
Yeah.
When they're kids.
That's really not NIL money. That's being given money. That's gifted money. That's
Right,
not
but
NIL money.
no, what I'm saying is a lot of these boosters are contributing to this NIL campaigning. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's all networking. There's a guy over here who owns this business. He might also be a booster, so he could sponsor him, and he could also take the kid out and buy him something on the weekend if they want. So I just meant, yeah, they're legitimizing it and trying to put structure to it. But it's, so the ethical part of it has always been very gray, and we know that. So it's like, but yeah, I'm not trying to shit on Lincoln Riley right now. I'm actually saying even because everybody has the same opportunity now. So it's like, all right, so you all have the same playing field. So the fact that Lincoln Riley could do that is pretty amazing what he's doing right now, like regardless, because any team can go out and say, everybody come over here right now and come play for me and see these opportunities, whether it's NIL or you want to play for a team that's going to play for a championship. Everybody has the same, playing field so that it's been legitimized.
All right, Ian. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. I'm going to get some of these other calls.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Ian. Have a good night. All right, Voice of College Football. We had a number of people on the line when we left our last stream, and we apologize for whatever reason the last stream went down, and we had a number of people online here, and now we have just Austin, who's going to join us to talk some college
What's
football.
happening, Mark?
What's
going happening, on? Mark? Well, Mark, did you happen to see the Penn State Auburn game, I'm assuming?
I saw the second half.
Mark, are we ready? I have a question for you. Are we ready to proclaim Penn State as the third best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan and Ohio State yet?
I don't know that I'm ready to proclaim it, but that would be my answer today.
Because it seems, Mark, that Auburn is a good team, right?
By what standard? Do they have talent? Would they be a fairly competitive team in another conference? Yes, but they're a team that's not going to come out of this season with a very good record at this point.
Okay, because the reason why I bring that up, Mark, is is Penn State handled them handily on the road, and
Yes.
and that has to say something, right?
Sure, it does. But I do not
And
believe that Auburn's anything more than the third or fourth worst team in the SEC.
okay,
Something
so
in
do
that
you
range.
think? Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's all I had to say.
Oh, okay. And another thing is, Mark, what's wrong with Notre Dame? They just can't seem to find anything. They played California,
Yeah.
only won by 7.
Well, it's an
In
offensive
Cal,
issue more than anything. It's not really the defense. It's offense. So that's a great question. I know that they lost some of their better playmakers before the season ever started. So they're obviously hurting there, and they lost their best running back from last season, Kyron Williams, and now they're without their starting quarterback. And of course, they lost their starting quarterback from last season. So obviously, they've not been able to replace their skill position players and their quarterback from last year.
and the thing too about it is, Mark, is California is not a good team per se.
Probably
And
not.
in years past, Notre Dame would have beaten them by 20, 30, maybe
Yep.
even 40.
Sure.
And and for them to only beat them by 7 says something about this Notre Dame team. I mean, you can say from where when they played Ohio State and they only lost 21-10, you could say that was not as bad as loss, but to lose to Marshall and then barely beat a California team that isn't very good raises a lot of eyebrows.
And the Marshall team that they beat last week lost to Bowling Green today.
So that says something, though.
Yeah, I think so. I think when you add all that up, it says something, and all you have to do is watch the team play and see the results. And it's mostly offense. I still think that they've got a quality defense, a top 20 in the nation, roughly defense, but they're struggling on the offensive side. They didn't score for a long time in that game.
Well, Mark, as you know, Corey, who's an Iowa fan, he's even said that their defense is really good, but their offense isn't all that. And as you've said on this show many times, that defense can't win you all the games. You got to have some sort of offense, correct?
Yeah, well, Notre Dame's offense is down. It's bad. It's not good. Iowa's offense is in a completely different category. It's so bad.
And Mark, like you said on the schedule, when they play Clemson and they play Clemson and maybe when they play North Carolina, and their defense ain't gonna be able to stop Clemson forever. Their offense is gonna have to be able to do something, correct?
Correct. Although Clemson's offense hasn't really shown us too much either.
And another thing I want to touch on is the Texas A&M Miami of Florida game. Texas A&M looked more prepared today than they did last week.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that I saw from Miami is they were a little undisciplined tonight. They had a lot of holding and false start penalties, and that just simply comes down to coaching.
Yeah, you're right. They did. They had a muffed punt. They had the unforced issues, pre-snap penalties. They had a couple dropped passes, and I didn't even see every play of the game, but they had 2 drop passes that hurt them significantly. The one ended the game on a 4th and 4. If that ball's caught, then they're still driving to try to tie the game. And then they also, earlier in the game, on a 3rd and 9, had a throw to Henry Parrish where he was wide open, and he dropped a 3rd and 9 pass that would have been a first down and extended a drive, and they had to punt, and he would have been easily inside the red zone. So a lot of mistakes for Miami tonight. I thought that they were athletically just as good as Texas A&M, and if anything, they were putting more pressure by far on Max Johnson than Texas A&M's pass rush was putting on Tyler Van Dyke.
Well, Mark, it just seemed like Miami beat themselves tonight, so to speak, because Miami had plenty of chances to win that game.
Yes.
And that seems to be the theme sometimes, is these teams that get all these penalties and stuff just beat themselves when they have chances to beat these teams. Like Texas, they beat themselves against Alabama. They had a chance to win, but they beat themselves at the end of it, right?
Yeah, I thought just based on that one day, that 3 hours, that Texas was a better team than Alabama. They outplayed Alabama, but they made critical mistakes at the wrong time. And it didn't help that Bryce Young should have been called down in the end zone for a safety.
And last thing before I go, Mark, what about Arkansas today? They had to come back from behind. I didn't expect that.
No one did. Can't imagine anyone did. I didn't. You didn't. That's one of the games on the schedule that you would consider just to be a complete walkover, 52-10. But they're athletes and they're 19 and 20 years old, and they're capable of letdowns and having possibly a bad matchup. And they were outplayed today, but they got the job done and won the game. But I don't know that changes my opinion on Arkansas. I just think that they had a bad day, and I credit the other team, and they survived and were able to sneak by.
Well, Mark, thank you as always for your time. God bless you, and go Cardinals.
I appreciate that, Austin. Our guy Austin on tonight. He's got to be hurting from Louisville's effort on Friday night, losing the last few seconds, last couple minutes against Florida State. K-Do, thank you so much for the contribution. I appreciate that. Does Kansas deserve to be ranked? The answer is yes. West Virginia's a decent team. And I know if Doc was on here and we were arguing that, then I would have to be able to figure out who West Virginia beat this year, and they haven't beaten anyone, but they played Pitt down to the wire. I think we can all agree that West Virginia is at least a competent, decent team, somewhere in the top 60 in the country. Kansas won that game on the road. Then they beat a really good Houston team today. When I say really good, I don't mean Power 5, top of the line good, but I mean Houston's got to be a top 40 team in the country, somewhere in that range. Kansas beat them by 3 scores as a 2-score underdog on the road. So yes, Kansas, there aren't a lot of teams in the country that have beaten 2 teams the quality of Houston and West Virginia. There just aren't at this point in the season. So Kansas was ranked by me last week, and they will continue to be ranked by me. Where? I don't know at this point till I size everyone up. But are they going to be ranked by those polls that people pay attention to? I don't know. Erica, good to see you tonight. Hope the Hawkeyes are able to get back on the field and keep everybody up all night. But I don't know that they have, because I've switched to, where were they supposed to be? Were they on the Big Ten Network or FS1? Well, regardless, I don't think I was back on the field. Erica says, what in the world did Doc say on his call? Everyone keeps mentioning him in the chat. It was basically just he was just relentless, and he made, I don't want to say he didn't make any sense, but it was just a kind of confrontational, not in a bad or mean way in any way. So that's about the best summary I can give you without talking about it. We've talked enough about it. All right. But thank you for that, Erica. I appreciate it. Charles really wants to see this game finished. Iowa's up 17-0, and I have to think, and again, we don't know the guidelines or stipulations as to what the rules are about calling a game. Niall Croc, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Michael needs Iowa to cover the 23. Okay, well, that's a different incentive there. Explain why Minnesota is better than Michigan. I would say it's too early to tell. Yes, it most definitely is too early to tell. It's on BTN. Really? Okay, let's get that game on. USC's up by 25. Even though these are better teams, we will go to the interesting little event that is Iowa football. Okay, they haven't even started to play yet, have they? Oh, are people leaving the stadium now? What are we watching here? We're watching a recap of the delay. Okay, I'm not going to do that quite yet, but we will yes, we're watching a recap of the delay. All right, we'll get back to that. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, Robert, I got to think that Lance Leipold has set himself up for a big payday somewhere else if he keeps this up. Look at what Kansas is doing. Look at how they played the second half of last season. They went from getting annihilated like they typically do to playing one-score games with some decent teams and beating Texas, of course. So this Lance Leipold Kansas story is something else. Billy Tuesday, Minnesota's beat their cupcakes as impressively as Michigan. How come they're not ranked? You got me. That's because the rankings suck. Doc made a name for himself tonight. How about that? Josh Gaddis is a bad coach. Well, Miami obviously didn't have much of a game plan because they took on a Texas A&M team that is really, 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 really good on defense. Their problems are not defense, but still, they had two secondary players who missed the game, and their second leading receiver missed the game, and they lost their best secondary player and another starter during the game, and Miami couldn't figure out how to take advantage of that. Ferris, I had no other choice. I've only muted somebody probably 3 times on here. With all the thousands of calls that I've taken through the years, I probably muted somebody. I'm guessing 3 times, and I can't even remember when those were. But okay, this whole Ohio State Michigan comparison is quite amusing. USC scores 42-17. So this Ohio State comparison against Michigan is quite amusing. That goes on all the time in these chats. Yes, Michigan has won more conference championships than Ohio State. I believe the count is 43-40. Yes, Michigan has a better all-time winning percentage. Or no. Michigan has an all-time series lead over Ohio State. I believe the count is now 59-51. I believe. Okay. Yes, every game in the series counts the same. The game that was just played last November counts exactly as one game, as it should, against the games that were played in 1912. Let's also understand a few things. Do you, as a Michigan fan, do you truly take pride in wins against Ohio State in 1918? When the series record over the last, 21 meetings is 17-4. And if you take the time at which Ohio State joined the Big Ten, Ohio State has won more Big Ten championships than Michigan. Ohio State could not win Big Ten championships before it entered the Big Ten. That's difficult to do. So Ohio State has actually won more Big Ten championships during the years in which they have both been in the conference. And yes, Michigan still has a series lead over Ohio State. And I have no issue with Michigan fans who want to tout their series lead. But again, do you really want to take pride over having a series lead that is basically built on winning decades ago? If I were a Michigan fan and I wanted to brag about the matchup against Ohio State, the center of my argument would be last November. I'd say right now, we are the Big Ten champions. We won the Big Ten championship last year. We beat you by 2 scores in Ann Arbor. We kicked your rear end. We currently own the series. But that's where we stand on that. I find it somewhat irritating and other times amusing when I see these back and forths between Ohio State and Michigan fans about the series. Yeah, there looks to be a pretty entertaining game between Arizona and South Dakota. Or North Dakota State. Let's see what's going on here. North Dakota State's up 28-24. Oh, there's still 9 minutes left in this game. Okay, this looks to be the game to watch. Dave is making the comment that Ohio State's dominated the series in the last 20 years, like Michigan did the 20 years before that. Yes, 13 of those years were under John Cooper, where it was 10-2-1 Michigan. Eric, yes, was at the Oregon game today. Eric, congratulations on a huge win. Team was mighty impressive, of course. Blasted BYU. I thought that was going to be one of the better games of the day, and Oregon just flat out dominated. BW, I do not know. They are watching because they are Iowa fans. Blank name must be a Michigan fan. Yes, all the games do count. Yes, you can say as a Michigan fan, we own the series against Ohio State. We have the series lead. But how would you truly feel? I'll use an extreme example. let's say Michigan owned the series 50-40, and Michigan won the first 50 meetings, and Ohio State had won 40 years in a row. Would you really be bragging about a series lead of 50-40 when the other team has won the last 40 consecutive times? Would you really be cherishing that win from 1972? So yes, all the games count. That's why they keep a series record, and Michigan leads this series against Ohio State. However, again, the conference championship total is skewed because Ohio State has not been in the conference as long and has won more conference championships during the time in which Ohio State has belonged in the Big Ten. That's a great call, Zay. Who is the best team right now? Because I expected going into the season for Ohio State to be somewhat better, decidedly better, not a ton better, but to be decidedly better. But after 3 games, I think Michigan's got a dominant team. And if they play tomorrow, I would have no idea who would win that game because I think they're very comparable and close. I think they're very comparable. Yes, I did have Michigan State beating Washington. I was wrong. For my poll, Connor, you're probably going to be happy with me after seeing my conference rankings come out Sunday or Monday. The Pac-12 has been mighty impressive this weekend. Davey's here to post a Roll Tide. There you go, Dave. Did it make your night? Roll Tide, 63-7 today. Let's take a quick look as we finish up this Arizona North Dakota State game. Oh, Arizona just converted a 4th and 1. That was big. Quick look. We've got all week to talk about it. We always focus these Saturday nights on, of course, the games that we saw on Saturday. But a quick look at next week. Who do we have next week? On Thursday, and we've got an Arizona touchdown pass, and it looks like there was pass interference as well. So that should stand. On Thursday night, we've got West Virginia, Virginia Tech. On Friday, we've got Virginia, Syracuse. As Syracuse looks to go to 4-0, and they're at home for that game. And then on Saturday, we've got, what are the good games? We've got Cincinnati, Indiana. Who else? Michigan, Maryland, Clemson, Wake Forest, Baylor, Iowa State, TCU, SMU, Duke, Kansas, both 3-0. Minnesota, Michigan State, Florida, Tennessee, Texas, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, North Carolina. Oregon, Washington State's a big game. Washington State beat Wisconsin, of course, and Oregon just beat BYU, so they're both pretty capable teams. Arkansas, Texas A&M next week. Iowa, Rutgers. Wisconsin at Ohio State. Oklahoma, Kansas State. BC, Florida State. USC, Oregon State. Nice game. And Utah, Arizona State. Stanford, Washington. Well, everybody keep it locked here, right at the Voice of College Football, right here, because you know what's coming up is we've got how much time left in the USC game. We have a mere, they're in commercial right now, so I don't know. Maybe 3 minutes left in the game. Coming up, you got Tim, you got Tony, you got Rick hosting the USC post game right here at the Voice of College Football. They're going to be on the USC channel and simulcasting here on the main channel. So they're going to take over. And of course, they're going to focus on USC, but they'll talk whatever college football that you want. So Tim and Tony, I believe Rick's going to be with them coming up on USC post game. The Miami post game should be going on right now, which reminds me I should be checking something. They have probably wrapped it up by now. Yeah, they have finished up no, they're still live. So you've got a couple options here. You can hang out here for the next few minutes and wait for Tim and Tony to strike it up after the USC game's over. And also the Miami live stream. Let's see, there's only 4 minutes left, USC and Fresno State. So keep it locked in right here at the Voice of College Football, Tim and Tony. And then again, with Traveling Fools doing the Miami live stream right now. After they got knocked off, you got Traveling Fools, Hurricane Central, Pete's on there, and Slim Shady Canes.
The ACC. They're doing their best to do that. And to Slim's point, that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 1 year. They went and got Dan Radakovich from Clemson, the athletic director. Why? Because what did Dan Radakovich do at Clemson as athletic director? Massive, massive monetary success. That's what he is. He's a money guy. And you're already starting to see all kinds of things happening. The minute they hired him, Miami's transformed into something different than it was even 2 years ago. And so I agree with Slim 100%. What happens on this field this year? Yeah. I mean, look, if you go out there and are fourth in the Coastal, that's not a good look. But in general, you should not be so concerned with what happens on the field this year. You should be looking to the year after and the year after that. I think 3 or 4 years.
All right, guys, the Miami show's going on right now on the Miami channel, Texas A&M Post. And again, Tim and Tony, you want to hang out with them late night. They're going to be right here taking your calls on USC and the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 was amazing today. Yes, and they're going to rise my rankings, Connor, for sure. And I'm going to have my top 25 that actually makes sense. Conference rankings, my Big Ten podcast, all available on Sunday and Monday right here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you sometime on Sunday.